to the 17th edition of Mumbai International Film Festival of Documentary, Short Fiction and Animation Films. In today's masterclass, we will be discussing about expanded cinema from screens to OTT platforms. Digital transformation is changing all habits and even the nature of current societies. Cinema experience is bound to change. The COVID pandemic affected human civilization at several levels and introduced the world to new issues and challenges. The cinema industry has also changed very rapidly during the pandemic. All across the world, the pandemic forced people to look themselves up indoors, leading to an increased viewership on screens at home. The COVID-19 accelerated the process of digital transformation. Analyzing this very particular moment of transition of cinema to OTT is important to access the reach of cinema to real cinema lovers. For this masterclass, we have with us Mr. Rizwan Ahmed. Rizwan Ahmed is a media professional, administrator, and educationist, and with over 21 years of rich exposure of handling a comprehensive range of responsibilities in administration, film television production, film programming, academics, policy planning, e-learning, distance education, etc. So currently works as Director, Instructional Media Center, MANNUU, a central university under Ministry of Education, Government of India, Hyderabad, and leads a huge team of film, television, radio professionals. As director of the center, he is the chief executive officer of the center and takes all administrative, creative, and policy decisions related to the center. He is the member of International Council of Film, Television, and Audiovisual Communication, UNESCO Paris, International Documentary Association, former Deputy Director, Directorate of Film Festival and International Film Festival of India, IFFI Goa. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Rizwan Ahmed? The team of MIFF welcomes you. I request R. Ravi sir, our committee head, to felicitate Mr. Rizwan Ahmed sir. So who's ready to embrace the knowledge that sir will be giving all of us, and remember, never stop learning as life never stops teaching. Sir, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My sincere thanks to first MIF, FD, DG Films Division, and my dear friend Mr. Ravi Patil, Mr. Ram Sahai, and lot of old colleagues of Ministry of INB. I met so many people in the last one day here. Thank you so much for having me on this wonderful platform. Since time is just 1.5 hours, I won't give much of the intro about this session. So we will directly go to the topic. This important topic, expanded cinema from screen to OTT platform. This has been very important topic of discussions at several platforms. Recently, I was part of one UNESCO conference where this particular topic was discussed at length. And there are definitely, pros and cons of this particular expansion also. And we will, once we sort of roll down this masterclass, we will explore those, important points which every cine lovers, they must know what is going on this, expansion, transformation, or sort of transition from screen to OTT platform. So this is the agenda of this masterclass. So while we move forward, we will be exploring these important topics during this masterclass. First, development of the film technology and OTT. Everything is linked with the film technology. We need to understand, a brief about the film technology, how this has sort of, overgrown over the years, actually. Then what is OTT? All of us, we know what is OTT. I'll briefly sort of develop on this also. Then OTT, a historical perspective. We need to understand this fact also, how this OTT grown over the years. And then this story of screen to OTT, which is very interesting, actually. We will explore some key factors. And then I will especially focus on the OTT, a brief history of this particular, digital transformation. And then how COVID triggered this, transformation or expansion from cinema to OTT. We will explore that particular point also. And then cinema industry scenario worldwide during COVID, before and after, how the cinema industry sort of behaved, after the digital platform came into existence. Then we will particularly explore the Indian OTT story as well. And then I'll focus on the OTT growth drivers also, what sort of, specializes in this field of OTT content, which is liked by audience so well. And there are definitely some flip sides of the OTT also, like, other platform. Then there is a debate, can traditional cinema and OTT survive together? They can coexist together. We will sort of discuss that also. Finally, I'll discuss some challenges and we'll conclude the masterclass. There is one very important Urdu poet. I'm not sure if you heard of Mr. Hafiz Jalandhari. So there are two Urdu words, Shero-Adab, language and literature. And there is one word, nisf. Nisf is like adha, half. So Hafiz says, Shero-Adab ki khidmat mein jo bhi Hafiz ka hissa hai, वो निस सदी का किस्सा है, 2-4 बरस की बात नहीं. हफीज जालंधरी बोल रहे हैं यहाँ पे कि जो भी उन्होंने लिखा है लैंग्वेज लिटरेचर, इज अ ग्रेट वेटरन उर्दू पोइट. वो आधी सदी का किस्सा है, ये कोई मतलब 1-2 दिन की बात नहीं है. वो जो शायरी उनकी पढ़ते हैं हम अप्रिशिएट करते हैं. बिल्कुल ऐसी ही स्टोरी सिनेमा की भी है. जो सिनेमा स्टूडेंट है वो बेहतर जानते हैं. सो दिस इज लाइक स्टोरी ऑफ मोर देन 100 years. How did we have sort of come to these digital platforms? OTT is the buzzword nowadays. This will also change in due course of time. So the cinema as we know it today, this is the sort of development in the 19th century through a series of technological development. What are those technological developments? So I'll sort of focus maybe 4 or 5 of those important technical developments. So that will set the context of this whole transformation which we are discussing today. So as I said, OTT is one of the outcome of the film technology developments. It is a story of more than 100 years of film technology developments. So what are those important, technological development which happened over the years? This is like the history of more than 100 years. I have picked out some important points. There are definitely more than that. A cinema student knows it very well, what are those important points, the way cinema industry grown. So I have picked up from the kinetoscope to OTT only. We know 1891 Edison company demonstrated kinetoscope, which was a small box where only one person could see the movie picture. Then in 1895, Lumiere brothers, they projected movie pictures to paying audience through cinematography, which was an instrument discovered by them. So which was basically a camera, projector, and film printer all in one. In 1903, first silent and narrative movie produced by Edison company, directed by Edwin S. Porter, was released. Then in 1927, we had the first feature length film synchronized with the sound, actually by Warner Brothers. Then in 1930, we had the first film use microphone to record actors as they were filmed. So these were the important points in the film history, how the film technology was developing over the years. And 21st century cinema, we know this is an extraordinary experience actually. We have 3D cinema, we have IMAX, we have 4D, 5D sound. Once you go to the IMAX theater, the kind of experience you enjoy in an IMAX movie actually. I'm not sure if you have seen the recent Tom Cruise Top Gun in an IMAX experience. I have some friends in Cannes Film Festival, they were telling this was wonderful from, Tom Cruise. I think best in the lot what Tom Cruise had done in this Top Gun series. So this is the 21st century experience. And now the OTT is another experience. This has brought cinema to your bedroom. It was already there in form of television, other devices also. But OTT sort of defined, whole cinema experience exhibition in a different way. How was that experience? We'll discuss in coming slides. So what is OTT actually? We know OTT, this acronym stands for the over the top. What is over the top actually? So till OTT came into picture, we were getting the content through the cable networks or maybe from the satellite television networks. But what OTT did? OTT did, it is personalized your cinema experience basically. So OTT platforms were sort of streaming content directly to your devices through the internet. So there were no cable operators in picture. There was no broadcast technology in picture. So it was like the over-the-top experience. So no cable network in between, no broadcast media in between. So this is basically OTT as we know it today. This may take another shape in future. So before I go into this transition, we will shortly discuss a historical perspective of the OTT. This is basically American story. Most of the things were happening there only. We know 1980 was a decade of, cable TV operators, cable television. This was booming in America, actually. Then in 1994, DirecTV became the first digital satellite TV system. It came in 1994. It was DirecTV, basically. In 1996, cable TV provider, they realized there is a internet happening everywhere, and this internet technology has a potential to sort of, change the discourse of film exhibition all across the world. So they started investing in this particular networking. So this overhauling was important, actually, before shifting to the streaming devices and the streaming industry. In 1999, American got, DVR, digital video recorder, which taught people how to be in control of the content they watch, what, when, and how. This was very important, exhibition criteria. Till date, till 1999, the exhibitors were controlling what you will see, when you will see, how you will see. The moment DVR came into picture, the most of the control went to the viewers, actually, which was a defining moment in this whole transition. Then in 2005, very important launch of the YouTube. YouTube was launched in 2005. There were three PayPal's, Chad Hurley, Steve Chen, and Javed Karim. We know how YouTube changed whole audiovisual experience all across the globe. And then 2007, we have the Netflix. Netflix has almost become synonym to OTT, actually. I'll discuss this Netflix story also separately. Then 2008, another important OTT platform, Hulu. It was launched in America. The majority of the stakes were by the Walt Disney in this company. And Walt Disney, we know what Walt Disney is all about and what they can do in the content exhibition. And rest is history. The number of OTT platforms we have now. So this is the brief historical perspective of the OTT platform. So before we go deep into this transition of the cinema from screen to OTT, we must sort of examine this Netflix story also. So Netflix was founded by Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph in California in 1997. So in 1997, they started, sale of DVDs basically, and then rental by emails, few DVDs. Within 1 year, they sort of, they closed this business. Then Hastings and Randolph came up with the idea of getting DVDs home delivered. So they were slowly getting into the nitty-gritties of this business. In 1999, just after 2 years, Netflix started offering a monthly online subscription service through internet. Because by that time, internet was deeply penetrated all across. And then they started exploring the benefits of the internet. The major breakthrough came in 2007 when they started offering subscription, the option to stream some of its movie and television shows directly to their homes through internet. So subscription started in 2007. So officially, Netflix started subscription business in 2007, basically. And 2013, we know this House of Cards. They launched this House of Cards, and 6 seasons are already over. This was a major breakthrough for this OTT business, streaming business. The content we normally listen this content is king. House of Cards defined the OTT content, cinematic content basically, if I can say so. So if you look at the broad scenario of the OTT platforms, in 2022, if you look at the OTT contents, so they are global and then regional in nature. See, look at the proliferation of the OTT industry in India. Look at the kind of money is being pumped by this OTT platform in the content. If you examine the content of any OTT platform, you will find at least 50% of the content in the regional languages. So they are catering, and this regional language content is not restricted to the particular territory only. The moment you put it on the OTT platform, you transcend the national boundaries basically. So that is the beauty of the OTT content, what is being produced at a global level. This has a regional and the global appeal. Now let us discuss few key factors which sort of triggered the this transformation or extension of screen to OTT. How cinema sort of transcend. Once we started calling cinema as the film industry, which is basically a commercial development. So once this commerce economics comes into picture, these technological developments are bound to happen. You have to give an experience to the your viewers. This has to continuously develop. So that was the major trigger point, The movement cinema become the film industry or cinema industry. This commerce economics came into picture, and then different technological development it started happening. Definitely, there were the individual aesthetics and the artistic developments also, which also contributed to this sort of transformation from screen to OTT. So we know, after the digital platforms and internet boom, the global film industry was changing very rapidly, and digital revolution and the easy access of internet paved the way for alternate web content exhibition, which this was the trigger point for this whole transformation. If you look at the major market trends in all across the world, the film attendance in theater was decreasing actually. If you look at the North America scenario, in North America, the number of tickets sold has barely changed since 1995. So from 1995 to 2002, there was not much of the increase in the ticket sales. So that was stagnant somewhere. So the film exhibitors, they were bound to find other alternate platforms so that business can be grown. Same was the trend in the UK also. So admissions have hovered around 170 billion per year since 2005. This is again not increasing at all. India also same trend. Though we are the powerhouse of the cinema production, but per capita cinema admissions from 2009 to 2018 fell 32%. Sharp decline actually. 32% is a sharp decline in cinema attendance. Only exception was the China. Look at the growth. 860% of their cinema attendance has grown. It means sort of they have increased their theater. They might have increased the theater experience also. How would the people they will sort of enjoy cinema in theater? How they have personalized the cinema experience in China, which is again another point of study for the film lovers, for the film exhibitors. How when this attendance was soaring everywhere, how did China manage to sort of boost to 860% hike actually, which is amazing actually. Another important thing, this is theatrical window. I don't know if you know about the theatrical window. I can briefly define this. Some film companies they started sort of releasing their films simultaneously on the OTT platform and in the theater also. So which was again a sort of danger point for the theaters. So theater attendance was coming down because movie was simultaneously going to the OTT platform as well as in the theater also. So this theatrical window, there was a sort of arrangement between the OTT players and the theater owners that before we will release these films, and maybe after 90 days or 60 days, you can take this film to the OTT platform. This windows was narrowing down continuously. It used to be 90 days, it came to 60 days, then it came to 40 days. Now there are some cases, there was a 10 days window only. There are cases, when the films were released simultaneously on the OTT platform and the theater. There are the cases when the films were released only on the OTT platform. So how would this affect the theater business? That has to be seen. So that story will be told in the next few slides. So this was another major point, why this transition was happening. And the release were prioritized on the streaming platform by the major film movie studios. Look at the names, last in theater. The Warner Brothers, Walt Disney, 20th Century Fox, Paramount, Sony, Universal, before 15 years, they were releasing 20 to 25 films. If you look at the current scenario, they are only releasing 9 films in the theater now. So more than, it is a dip of more than half actually. And there was a trend on the direct release on the OTT platform. So what these OTT platforms were doing, they were directly buying the independent film which were produced outside the studio, and they were releasing it directly on the streaming platform. So that particular content was missing in the theater. So again, the number of films which were supposed to come to theater, so they were going to the OTT platforms. And there was a streaming VOD market trend. Audience were, more happy getting content at their homes. So this trend continued, and COVID triggered. This COVID story also I'll discuss in next few slides. And then there are now bundle models actually, which is again, if I have Airtel connection, Airtel will send me an SMS, if you take Airtel connection, I'll give you this particular platform free. If you take this particular platform, I'll give you this much concession for the Airtel connectivity. So these bundle models are again sort of, happening all across I think most of the platform they have tied up with the telecom industry now. So these are the few major trends which sort of triggered this transformation from screen to OTT. Then another major things, movie studio, they started sort of owning OTT platform. They started investing in the OTT platform. So once a movie studio has an OTT platform, so they were taking the final call. No, I'm going to release my film simultaneously to the OTT as well as and in theater. Same thing happened with the Dune, the classic Dune actually, which was basically produced for the cinema experience, and it was ultimately the director of the film was not happy at all. Actually, he criticized openly, and varieties quoted it, several media platforms. I'll discuss it, Dune story also separately, but this was happening actually, this trend was happening. So those were the trends responsible, for this transformation. And the main boost to the OTT industry came in the COVID basically. The COVID changed whole game. Actually, this transformation was already happening before COVID, but that was a very slow growth actually. But COVID changed whole scenario. How did this transformation scenario change during COVID? These few slides will sort of take you deep into the study. How did this happen? We know lockdown was an extraordinary crisis. All of us were closed inside our homes. Even the groceries were being picked up through some mobile apps. Everything is sort of tackled through the digital platform. And we noticed, these images all across world through media, newspapers, television, etc. World came to a standstill, and nothing was happening. Same story happened with the cinema also. Cinema halls were closed. Everything was halted. Shooting, film premieres, film festivals, nothing was happening. So everything was closed during the pandemic. So worldwide lockdown, and there was uncertainty when the cinema halls will open actually. There were the films which were already there in the theater. There were the films, which were scheduled to be released. So producer was not supposed to sit on those films actually. So there was money involved. They were planning to release those films. So that uncertainty actually provided unexpected acceleration and opportunity for the exhibitors to shift the gears actually. So film industry was already in process of finding new platforms of film exhibition even before pandemic. This was happening right from 2007 onward. Even before that, experiments were going on. So as the number of films and movie attendance sort of gone down during pandemic, financially sort of affecting the movie theaters, it was obvious for the cinema business to seek new ways to get entertainment into homes and get revenue. Revenue was one of the key point actually. So production companies started shifting to the streaming platforms during Corona. And the beauty of the OTT content was it came like a fresh air, I'm sure all of us, we have seen the OTT content. The kind of niche premium content they are producing is very difficult to find in mainstream cinema. So that sort of triggered the people, they were glued to their screen. The moment you watch first episode of Sacred Game, you cannot leave rest of the episode. It was so engaging actually. So that was another big point for the OTT content. Once this content started going to the bedrooms, the audience started growing. I appreciated a lot of my friends about the Sacred Game. You must watch it. The kind of content, the way it has been shot, the way it has been written actually. It's purely a cinema experience. Though we were watching at the small television, but it was purely a cinema experience actually. The whole aesthetics, whole narrative was written from that point of view only. So the original streaming content, including feature films, and the another takeaway of the OTT content was they were streaming lot of genres together. Archival films were there, documentaries were there, kids content was there, new films were there, independent films were there. Lot of varieties which you won't see in the normal multiplex so easily. So that was the another trigger point for the OTT growth, and that increased the revenue also. How revenue was increased, that those slides will also come in a moment actually. So how did cinema industry change in COVID? This is the key point of this presentation. Everything is triggered from the COVID. It was happening before, it was slow, but COVID triggered everything. So this is the way cinema industry changed during the COVID. Film exhibition, it shifted from cinema hall to online, digital, and OTT platform. Film production, the government issues warning. If you want to shoot, there was a clear-cut defined SOP. Reduce your crew. The crew became big crew to small crew. Then film festival from physical to online film festival. Can you imagine a film festival online? Me and Mr. Dekwani have been to Cannes, attending a film festival, or if we go, physical experiences all are different together. You just cannot imagine a film festival online actually. First of all, you cannot imagine cinema, watching cinema on a small screen. The major part of the cinema film festival is discussing with the peer group. physical interaction with the filmmakers. So though all these things were missing in the, but ultimately this happened. This went on for, at least 2.5 years. If you look at the film festival scenario only during the COVID, 22 film festivals were cancelled, 29 were put on the physical mode, 44 were online, and 10 were on hybrid mode. This data further increased. I am also correlating the data which has come recently. Maybe in next presentation, I'll further update this data. But this will give you a picture, what was happening during the COVID and how this industry was changing actually. Same was the story with the cinema halls also. So data from 64 countries, 36 countries were open, cinema halls were open, but with conditions actually. So like, leave one seat. So all, half seats were crossed in the cinema hall. So the cinema halls were carrying like, half of the strength only. And 26 countries cinema was permanently closed for the 2 years actually. Nothing happened. If you look at the global theatrical revenue, how the revenue came down, which this was another important point, which sort of forced, exhibitors to shift to the OTT platform. So in 2020 alone, global theatrical and the home mobile entertainment market totaled $80.8 billion. The lowest figures in 2016. It was a decline of 18% from 2019. This was just in 1 year. 18% decline of the revenue in just 1 year, which is quite a loss for the theater owners actually. And the sharpest decline was in theatrical revenue, which dropped from 42 billion in 2019 to 12 billion in 2020. So just imagine, from 42.3 billion to just 12 billion in 2020. More than half. Theatrical entertainment accounted only for 15% of total global entertainment value compared to the 43% in 2019. Sharp decline. And if you look at the digital entertainment revenue, it was just opposite figure. So trends toward digital entertainment was accelerated in 2020 as revenue climbed from 16.8 billion, an increase of 31%. So there you see the decrease of around 24-26%. Here you see the increase of 31%. So there was just reverse trends actually in both industry. So there are now 1.1 billion online video subscribers worldwide, up 26% from 2009. So this market was already captured by the digital platforms. If you look at the streaming revenue alone, so in digital platforms there is defined category of streaming revenue also, streaming platforms also. So among the drivers in the digital entertainment was the increase on the online subscriptions. In 2020, the new launches and the more content, there was 308.6 million subscribers, a year-over increase of 32%. 32% increase of the subscription in 2020. Revenue from online video subscriptions grew 35%. What is sharp increase in the revenue actually, just in 1 year. No one would have ever imagined this will go in so sharply. This transition would be so sharp. We noticed in 2020, even the Indian blockbusters were directly released on the streaming platforms. Gulabo Sitabo was on Amazon Prime, Lakshmi on Disney Hotstar, and Shakuntala Devi on Amazon Prime. They fetched the revenue also on OTT platforms directly. And there were fewer movie releases in the theater. In 2019, international box office soared to an all-time high of $31.1 billion. It was a loss, basically. Overall loss. I think biggest loss, as some trade pundits, they are sort of tracking, in last 50 years, never ever, theaters have faced such sort of loss. The movies moved to the streaming, definitely, you can look at the, logos of these big banners, Universal and Warner Brothers and Disney. Universal Pictures, they made a deal with AMC Theatre to shrink the time its movie plays exclusively in theatre from 90 to 17 days. The theatrical window, this came down. They forced, Universal Pictures basically forced the, theaters, you have to reduce your theatrical window. Then only we'll release our films in AMC Theatre. Same happened with the Warner Brothers also. They started releasing new movies on HBO Max, same day as it was streaming. Same Disney followed the similar model by releasing some new movies on streaming for an additional cost, and others including the basic subscription cost. Moving habits definitely also changed during the COVID. Just look at the UK trend. So daily, 1 hour, 11 minutes per day spent watching streaming devices. It was double than before the pandemic, actually. There were 12 million customers signed up to the new services like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus. This was happening during pandemic. This was like a double trend actually. Viewing figures for these video streaming services up 71% from 2019. So there was an increasing 71% digital content from the 2019. Almost same trend in the US also. So Nielsen rating shows that amount of time spent on the streaming platform from 16 to 2020 March increased by 34%. Almost same trend is going on all across the world. And Netflix captured the biggest audience. Their audience capture was almost 29% those days. And this trend continued in India as well. So there was a survey. The Indian audience says, paid OTT subscriptions have been highly preferred by 60% of the respondents actually. So 60% of the respondents, they prefer to watch films on streaming devices, which is not a good news for the theaters. So let's look at the Indian OTT story, how is Indian OTT industry performing. So OTT was launched in India in 2008. Big Flix was the first one by Reliance. And then Hotstar came in 2015. Netflix entered in 2016. There are over 40 providers of the OTT services in India. We have around 70 to 80 million OTT subscription, huge number. Price for the global streaming services is like 70-80% cheaper than USA. Still, a lot of people can afford this. OTT market in 2020 was $1.7 billion. And we are expecting a $15 billion market by 2030. It's a very promising figure, and this is going to happen the way trends are happening now. This is going to be maybe bigger than $15 billion market by 2030. And we are, second largest OTT market after China. We have 658 million internet users. This is the figure of January 2022. Internet penetration rate is around 47% in India. And India's online video users base is growing like 24% annually, which is again very promising. And over this period, time spent on the online videos has grown from 60 to 70%. Again, very interesting and very encouraging OTT market for the exhibitors in India and as well as for the audience also. And these are the current trends of India OTT market. Walt Disney, Hotstar, all major platforms have announced expensive content pipeline and investment in regional content. Regional content is the main focus. Z5 says, they are having 80 plus titles in 2022 in various Indian languages. And they also claim that at the time, 2 times growth in the subscription revenue. Amazon Prime Videos announced 40 new titles for India for 2022. And Netflix CEO has also announced, huge investment in the original content, basically regional content in India, actually. So these are the major growth drivers, which basically pulls audience toward the OTT content. Original content is definitely, one of the most important growth drivers. We have premium niche content, which we can't see on other platforms, or maybe in mainstream like television or the theater. And then regional content is one of the driver. They are tapping regional content very well. Shows like this Mirzapur, picking up title from the hinterlands, which is again a growth driver for the regional content, and definitely their aesthetics is on par with the mainstream cinema as well. And there are no box office pressures on this OTT platform release. The moment you release a film in the theater, the exhibitors they suffer. How much collection has come on the first day? What is the collection after a week? What is the collection after a month? So these box office pressures are not there on the OTT platform, which is again a positive sort of thing for the OTT platform. And they caters a diversified audience, almost all age groups, right from children to the old age people. So wide range of audience they can cater to. And then wide range of content is also there. You sort of name any sort of genre you will find on the OTT platform, right from the documentary to the short films to the festival winners. A different genre of the if you want to say the comedy, horror, etc. All sort of content is available on the OTT platform. Pricing, especially in India, is a huge factor. Still, they have kept the pricing very low in India. And it's consumer friendly, basically. You can watch content as per your wish whenever you want. Finding new overseas audience is also, another growth driver of the OTT platform, there are many films which may trail, in the releases in multiplexes, but the moment you put them on the OTT platform, it sort of, find a new audience there. So this is again a very good driver for the OTT platform. We have seen Pushpa, how did it become, such a huge hit? And I have heard few stories a few months back, at least 2 OTT players, they are sort of planning to buy this Pushpa 2 rights actually. So Pushpa 2 has still not been made, but there are 2 OTT drivers after the Pushpa 2. How can they sort of, get a Pushpa 2 on their platform? So again, a premium niche content which you can't watch sort of, in the mainstream exhibition. So definitely there are the flip sides also. It's not like that, everything is good with the OTT. There are flip sides of the OTT as well. The biggest flip side is, it cannot give you the experience which cinema provides you in the cinema hall, basically. So larger than life experience is missing in OTT platform. You are watching, maybe you can sort of have a huge screen at your home, but still you won't find the kind of experience you have it in, cinema hall. The kind of intensity you have, the kind of intimacy you have, the images in the dark cinema hall. So that is missing in the OTT platform when you are watching at the home. And one of the important things, film socializing space is definitely missing because you're watching content at your home. Once you go to the film festival or you go to a cinema hall, you interact with a lot of people, you interact with your family in a different way. And that is missing, while watching OTT content at home. One of the most important point which I feel during this whole transition or this transformation is the hegemony which continues, because I have shown, I'll show you the data. Is still internet is like, if you look at the Indian data, only 47% of the Indian audience, they have the access to the internet. So what about the 53% of the population? Don't they have the right to watch this content which is available on the OTT platform? So this, multinational perspective, this is multinational model of this, cinema exhibition. This is sort of, this should be discussed and policies have to be made. I'll discuss this aspect in a short while. So this hegemony and exclusion continues actually. I was recently in a UNESCO conference discussing almost same topic. So there were representatives from the African countries. In African countries, the internet condition is, it's not even touching the 30% actually. If you look at the, bigger picture of the African country. So the content is not reaching to this population, huge population. So have they done any crime, I feel cinema is a birthright to, every individual citizen. Whosoever take the birth on this planet, cinema is the birthright of each and every individual. So how can cinema be sort of, how this population can be avoided, by this rich content which is coming all across the globe. So many parts of the world, people do not have desired infrastructure means to support the extension of cinema to new platform. And in this process of transition, entire geographical areas, cultures, productions, they are being left out. So this has to be taken seriously. This is not only for the well-off people. The people who have a luxury to buy internet, people who have luxury to buy mobile phones or the laptops. This is a bigger question. And another things, there have been the reports, the OTT business is coming down, in some areas. For example, if I am having a Netflix connection, so I have a password and login ID. I'm sharing this login password ID with a lot of my friends. If I'm sharing this login password ID, say for example, 6 of my friends, so those 6 people who are supposed to take the subscription, that revenue is not being shared to the, the content which is being produced actually. So which is injustice to this platform actually. And there was a survey, around 41% Indian audience, they are fine with this sharing the password actually. Almost same number of percentage in Vietnam and other countries, they are fine. In Europe, this percentage is a bit low. But this is a trend actually, which is again a sort of, issue with the OTT platform. Not from the audience point of view, but from the exhibitor, from the producer's point of view actually. And there have been, medical reports. These articles I have gone through, a week before only. It leads to the digital fatigue. The amount of time we spend sitting on the sofa or maybe in our bedroom on the OTT platform watching content. This is leading to digital fatigue also, which is another health issue. So these are some, flip points. The recent trends which is happening now, we have launched OTT platform, but there are some metrics which have to be followed. For example, if I'm coming to cinema, I watch 2 hours cinema and I go happy, after watching a cinema, beautiful sound, nice projection, ambience, air conditioning, etc. I enjoy cinema to its full experience. But am I sort of experiencing this cinema in similar fashion in my bedroom? Definitely not at this level as we are exploring in the cinema hall. Another thing, what is this sort of internet connectivity rate at your home? So when you're clicking at the content, is it buffering? Then it takes you to the, maybe for 10, 15 minutes, then again it hangs and buffering. So these metrics have to be taken into consideration actually while, we are defining the OTT content. So when we are clicking, say for example, half an hour content, so this should be a flawless viewing actually. It should not stuck in the between. So that kills the narrative. So that is another, point which should be considered by the OTT players. They should have a team which could sort of study the audience experience, how they are sort of enjoying the kind of difficulty they are facing while sort of clicking at the content. There are a lot of metrics. There are more than 15, 20 metrics which can be worked out, how cinema viewers, they enjoy cinema and the kind of difficulty they face while watching cinema at their home actually. Now the bigger question, so can traditional cinema and OTT, they can coexist? They can survive together? This is a bigger question. The debate is happening, everywhere. So these are the bigger debates, which are happening all across the world. Is OTT the death of traditional cinema screen? Screen versus OTT, is the debate in right direction? Do we really need to debate on this point? Can cinema meet the OTT luxury where, audience choice has a lot of control? Or can OTT meet the cinema experience? Is OTT the right opportunity to build a sustainable, fairer, and the more inclusive digital society? What could be the new strategy for the cinema, which is good for the both platforms? So these are the major points, debate happening all across the world. So you see, OTT really death of the traditional cinema? I don't think so. Once television started happening, the people started saying, it will kill cinema. Cinema theaters will sort of close. Nothing happened actually. So this is a technical industry basically, technical developments will keep on happening. Even OTT is not the, final word now. This is going to transcend. Another model fast is coming now in OTT itself. I'll discuss fast also in brief actually. So OTT is not the death of cinema. You cannot have cinema experience at your home. Whatever kind of sound you sort of reproduce in your, in your bedroom, you cannot have the cinema experience at your home. The power of audience now in determining what gets continued is remarkably more direct than it was before. The audience will keep on choosing, if I want to watch this film at cinema hall, or I should watch this particular film at my, home. The audience will keep on defining now. So we have to provide, best of experience at home as well as in the theater as well. If OTT is the death of, cinema, then Tenet would not have been a, hit. Look at the figures of the Tenet, It grossed $360 million worldwide, making its 5th highest grossing film of 2020. No Time to Die. Look at the figures. It grossed $774 million worldwide, making it the 4th highest grossing film of the 2021. Same with the Dune also. So I was sharing the Dune story actually before. So Dune, what happened actually, this Warner Brothers, they released Dune simultaneously on the HBO Max and in theaters also. The director of the film, he criticized this sort of move. He said, my team worked for 3 years on the aesthetics of the Dune. The sound design was sort of, duller for the theater only. How can you do this crime of releasing this particular film on the OTT platform? So ultimately, film was pulled back from the HBO Max. It grossed, $400 million worldwide. Same with the Batman. Grossed like $768 million against a budget of only, $200 million budget dollar. RRR, our own film. We enjoyed this, 1,000 150 crore rupees, US $150 million worldwide. Kashmir Files, 340.16 crore rupees worldwide. KGF2, 1,221 crore rupees. So is this debate of the screen versus OTT is in right direction? This is not in right direction. Let screen provide the best of this experience. Let multiplexes explore further. Let OTT also explore further, actually. So I don't support the debate at all. While I was there at the UNESCO platform, I suggested the same thing. That we are not putting the whole thing, in the right context, actually. Because these developments will keep on happening, and each development will keep on challenging the previous one, actually. So this will keep on evolving. We are not going to close, like 10,000 cinema theaters in India. No country will shut down the theaters for, another technical development. They can further improve the cinema experience, actually, which should happen. So new technology will keep on evolving. Both traditional cinema and OTT need to find workable solution for coexistence on multiple avenues. Netflix, there was an article a month before only. Actually, Netflix subscription has gone down recently because the main reason was quoted because the audience, they are sort of sharing their password to their friends and family members. So that is the reason which has come to the floor right now. I don't know what can be the another reason for this. Maybe the content is not driving the audience well now. So there might be multiple reasons, but the initial study is telling this is the reason, that because a lot of audience, they are sharing their password and user ID with their friends and family members. So there are plenty of rooms for the both platform, for the cinema as well as OTT. New programming strategies have to be evolved. Cinema screen experience is unparalleled. This cannot be matched on the OTT platform. This has a special place in our heart, and many biggies, from all across the world. They do have the same view, like most of us we have. David Lynch, he says, cinema is built for the big screen and the big words. Mr. Sham Benegal says, watching a film in cinema hall is a social celebration and a collective experience. Movies can be seen through many mediums, all have their own importance. The kind of social celebration and a parting we have in the cinema hall, it is difficult to sort of, enjoy in similar fashion at the home. Wong Kar-wai has a similar that I would prefer to watch a film in cinema with an audience on big screen. It is a very different experience, more magical and intense, which is why I think cinema form still has bright future. It has the kind of data, I have some big films, in past few slides. And there are audience also. There is a data, there is a chunk of audience which feels, the cinema experience cannot be taken over by the OTT platform. They say it's like a social celebration inside a cinema hall. We cannot do the similar experience at our home, actually. So this sort of provides a ray of hope for the theater owners. So a balanced approach is required. Cinema owners need to apply new strategies to get audience back to the theater. This is a challenge after OTT, no doubt about it. Like, the Tarantino in Hollywood, he has sort of bought these two new theaters. One is Vista, another one is Beverly Cinema. And what he's doing there, like in Vista, he's releasing a mix of new and old films, actually. Old classic and new film. Look at the programming strategies. Why can't audience, he challenges the new releases as well. Whenever there is a new release, he sort of put a pure art house cinema in the cinema theater. So he's challenging all these, mainstream narratives of the film exhibition. In another cinema, he is releasing just 16mm and the 35mm films. So he's preserved that cinema hall for the 35mm, 16mm films. Can anybody dare to do all these things in India now? I remember when I was in Director of Film Festival and INB Ministry, so we had my office in Sriford Auditorium Complex. These are 4 beautiful auditoriums. So then suddenly there was a drive that, we should sort of install, new 2K, 4K projectors here. Definitely there should be, 2K, 4K projectors here. But we preserved, 16mm, 35mm projectors also. So my previous office had, more than 1,000 prints in 35mm, all classics, national award-winning films, Indian panorama films. Watching those films in that original format is an experience, So you cannot replicate that particular experience, getting them sort of transferred into another format and screening them into 2K, 4K projects. So the texture of the 35mm cinema system, Usha madam is here, she knows, she's from FTI, what is the beauty of watching a 35mm film in its original format? Absolutely, I do endorse this view actually. So those sort of innovative strategies have to be evolved actually. Let the mainstream things, they do. For example, there are 5 theaters in a multiplex. Can we sort of dedicate one particular theater for this sort of art house cinema? Or can there be a mix of, programming in different cinema halls? Like if you are doing 5 shows, let us have 2 or 1 shows, dedicated to the classic art house cinema. This will pull the audience. This will break the narrative, only one sort of cinema is being sort of screened in the multiplex. Let us better enjoy the, films at your home with the OTT platform. So you need to break that narrative actually, how we can personalize the cinema experience. There can be, question answer sessions also. Local filmmakers can be called to the cinema hall. Cinema discussion can happen, maybe once in a while. So it has to start somewhere actually. You cannot have film exhibition in similar fashion for the over the years. You have to change somewhere. There are multiple platform will keep on coming. They will keep on challenging the previous one. So you have to evolve yourself. So as I was discussing this, OTT is not the end of the world actually. So another thing within OTT is coming the FAST now. What is FAST? FAST is free ad supported streaming space. So they are not charging fee for the subscription. They are earning their revenue from the ad basically. So their platforms are supported with the advertisement basically. So this is another platform which is coming up very fast, and American studies shows it's growing faster than the OTT platform. This is fast model. So what are the challenges before us now? Biggest challenges is the uneven distribution of the resources. As I shared early, we don't have the resources, digital resources, spread in an equal way to the public at large actually. So our internet penetration, like in India, is only 47%. We cannot ignore 53% of the population who don't have the access to the internet, mobile or maybe laptop to watch this OTT platform. So access to online platform is largely limited to the urban population basically. So I can say this model is basically urban driven actually. So OTT platforms are basically targeting the urban audience who can afford internet connection and subscription fee. And this basically determines the class character of this particular platform. And worst thing is that, it would exclude a large majority of the filming population, and that will be the denial to the cinema, to that population which has been the utmost supporter of the cinema. I belong to a small village from Uttar Pradesh. I still see, single screen cinema surviving there actually. You can still, every race you can find, huge line sort of struggling for the ticket at the window. So what about this population? Would they keep on watching cinema just on the single screen? If there is an internet, if there are digital devices, the supply has to be equal. We need to sort of create a methodology, where these devices or internet connection, a different business model can reach to this particular population. Very, very important. So there is a danger to cinema in its present form. Equal opportunities of the infrastructure to individual and nations for production, exhibition, and distribution needs to be ensured. This is internet scenario in India. There was an increase in 2020. It touched 50%. Again, it has come down to 45%, which is a big challenge to all of us, not only for the viewers and to the exhibitors also. So is transformation going to ensure inclusiveness, national identities, cultures, and expressive independence? Are these so-called OTT platforms, they are calling the final shot? No, you have to produce particular sort of content. Do the filmmakers, they have final say? No, I want to produce this content. This content is as brilliant as you are suggesting to me. So those cultural identities have to be respected actually. If content is being produced for the Indian audience, so what Indian audience basically sort of demand, what Indian filmmakers have there in mind. So is that feeling is being respected while content is being produced, content is being decided? So this has to be taken into consideration. And after COVID pandemic, these theater owners, they are in fear. there is a growing fear amongst the theater owners. They say cinema is a habit. If you break a habit for 5-6 months, it's very difficult to change the habit. So they are feeling, a large chunk of the population is already gone. They are not coming back to the theater. So, and again, this theatrical window, which has narrowed down, this has further has been the sort of destroyer for the cinema in theater. So how this cinema can come back? So there has to be a policy decision on the theatrical window also. Can there be a policy all across the world? Okay, first film will be released in the theater for this much duration, then it will come to the streaming platform. Because theaters have to survive, actually. So policies are very much required. Let us not, if policymakers don't come forward, then this multinational business model will survive, actually. So they have their own perspective, which is going on well, and within, few years, this will settle down. It will be very difficult to break this model then. And India is a very diverse country. We produce cinema in over 35 languages. We are one of the biggest producers of cinema. And box office sort of stamp is like a ritual here. We know how films are released in India. So this is missing in OTT platform. I have seen now I'm living in Telangana. Whenever a film is released in Telangana, we see huge cutouts of the actors coming out of the cinema halls. People, they are sort of putting garlands and milk on these cutouts of the film. So that is like a ritual there in most of the states, actually. So while transition and expansion of cinema is important, a balanced approach is required. What can be the expectations from this OTT industry? As I see, current model is basically urban-centric. What about the rural population who sort of, support cinema like anything? That is the biggest entertainment medium for them. So can there be two business models for the rural people and the urban people? Subscription, having same subscription fee in the Mumbai and same subscription fee in a village in Uttar Pradesh or Bihar, I think that is not justified. So how two business models can be created, and that theatrical window is very, very important. We need to work out that theatrical window because theaters need to survive. If this window is not worked out, I'm sure theater are not going to earn the same revenue as they've been earning before the pandemic. There are expectations from the film festivals also. If you look at the film festivals, there is a hegemony there also, So non-hegemonic countries, don't they have right to sort of represent to the big festivals, actually? What about, films being screened at the Cannes, Venice, Toronto, Sundance, etc.? So shouldn't a film viewer sitting in the Bihar, Uttar Pradesh have the right to watch that international cinema? So what can be the strategies, actually? So they have to come out of that particular comfort zone of, presenting a type of cinema that has become you are typecasting a film festival, showing a type of cinema to a type of audience and not enlarging your sort of, scope of the cinema to a bigger audience. So if we say digital platform, there is a facility. I've been told, MIF has been sort of, webcasting many documentary films on digital platform, which is a good move from my point of view, because cinema has to be seen by a large and diversified audience. All the people, they cannot come to a festival. But if platforms are available, why can't cinema reach to them, actually? Festival should have a strategy. And there are brave filmmakers like Ken Loach, veteran, legendary Ken Loach. He has started his own YouTube channel. He's putting his stuff free of cost on the YouTube channel. Can we have the people from the film fraternities also? If we have the digital platform, can't filmmakers can also come forward, actually, to showcase their cinema? So these sort of brave efforts are required from the filmmakers as well. And then there are, this is wonderful movie paid platforms also, where you have, wonderful cinema from all part of the world. You name any film and you will find it on movie platform. I personally like this platform because this has basically grown my knowledge on cinema. This is one. I'm sure most of these students would have subscribed this. If you have not, you must subscribe this movie platform. This is a wonderful platform. You will find movies from from most of the great filmmakers of different genre, actually. So now I conclude this class here with few slides. So cinema is a global language, a fundamental point, and a right also. These particular things have not been said loudly. Cinema is a birthright to each and every individual, actually. So therefore, empowering culture of cinema in all its format and shapes is necessary. Let both theater and OTT survive. Let there be expansion of cinema to a large and diversified audience. New technologies, no doubt. OTT has sort of, brought a lot of new stuff to the audience. Archival films to the audience, actually. So that's the beauty of this OTT platform. So there has to be a collaborative relationship between cinema and platform rather than both at a war. So this war is, because if we sort of start creating a war, then I believe cinema will lose basically. The kind of backing OTT platform is having, it would be very difficult for cinema to survive. Technological development cannot be stopped. We must try to govern them, actually. So digital empowerment of the huge population all across the world, not only in India, is required. We need to sort of find most important priority is to make the cinema democratic and available to everyone. And this calls for an open and universal access to internet. That is the key point, actually. Broadband connection that allows the widest availability of the digital platform. So that is the key point. If internet is not there, then OTT platform don't exist. So let diversified cinema exhibition platform coexist. I feel cinema is the biggest culture. Existence of multiple exhibition platforms will ensure greater content diversity, no doubt about it. Better access to industry for a wide range of voices and new form of storytelling. As Abbas Qasmi says, he says a veteran Iranian filmmaker, one of the biggest world cinema filmmaker. He says film is very much a universal and common voice, and we cannot limit it to a one particular culture. Almost same thing is said by Jia Zhang, another wonderful filmmaker from China. He says we need film because film is how we understand this world. Through the emotion in each frame and shot, we are bound to find a truth deep inside of ourselves. The more the world changes like now, the more we need to observe her. And film is the most beautiful, wonderful, and meticulous way of observation. Thank you so much. So if you have time, we can take a few questions. Yeah, please.
Hi. Thank you for such a insightful session. My question for you is that ever since the theaters reopened in the country since last October, November, we have seen only larger than life commercial films doing well in theaters, like there was Suryavanshi, RRR, and KGF Chapter 2. But at the same time, films which are realistic and sensible and which can't be termed as a larger than life films, they are sensible emotional films. Such films are not doing well, even if they are liked by the people and even if they receive good reviews. People are wanting to watch those films on OTT. So do you think this is the end of the road for such meaningful content based cinema, and we will only see larger than life cinema doing well in theaters?
No, I think this is a momentary step, actually. This will ultimately settle down, I think, within 2-3 years, actually. So this is not going to stay. It was bound, because the way this revenue came down during the COVID period, it was bound to happen to see, this large in life, not only in India, actually, abroad as well. So in first lot, all big films were released because bigger money was at the stake, actually. And ultimately, the people, basically the niche films like in art house cinema, they sort of made an intelligent move, sort of roll it back, actually. So let us have a sort of intelligent window before them, so that these 5-6 big films they pass on, and then finally they will find their own way. How the industries perform, they will sort of notice it, and maybe on OTT platform or on theater. Ultimately, cinema will come down to the both platform. So now. There was a smaller room for this, art house cinema in the multiplexes earlier. But now we have the OTT platform. So there are many films, if you sort of go to the movie, actually, I have even, they were recently made films, actually. I have never ever heard their names in newspaper, magazines. Suddenly I found them on OTT, beautiful films, actually. So if they are selected on the OTT platform, definitely a X amount of money would have gone to the producers and these directors also. So this trend will ultimately settle in some time. So 2022 sort of can be said a buffer year, actually. So maybe by 23 or 24 things will be better, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, sir.
Hi.
I just want to know about, since you're talking about the cinema theaters and all, is it there a possibility whether we see the time when short films being in the theaters? Because people are now, see, just like first, it was a one-day match, now it's a 2020. Maybe in future, the people want to see more shorter form. And maybe 10 minutes film, maybe there will be series of 10 minutes के 3-4 films, maybe. Is it, आपको लगता है कि this is going to happen? And one more question, one more question about the movie you're talking about. Yeah, and I found it, but I believe again they see the whether star is in this or not. Their selection process is very different, and I've gone through this. I have so many titles and all, and my friends also. It's not me about. They're very selective about the films, and whatever they select, they also see the whether is there a mediocre star, is a medium tier star. Something has to be there, otherwise they should promote. If they really promote the art, then they should see all these things. You know, there are cinema which is without. See, I had made one film without dialogue, without any star, and it's running in millions on YouTube. Maybe a case will be there, but in general, since you had read movie so well,
No, I got your point.
please.
So I'll take both of your question. So your first question about the short films in theaters actually. So the kind of developments we have seen after OTT and this COVID actually, this overhaul is going on now. And maybe you will see short films also in theaters actually. Not only short film. Why can't you have a sacred game in a theater actually? This is going to happen. Sooner or later, this cinema exhibition in theater is going to change very fast actually. We have been Bahubali 1, Bahubali 2. The audience were sort of glued to this, from one part to two. Gangs of Wasepur, from 1 to 2. Audience came back to that. Same is the thrill in the sacred game also, So if you produce something in, so many episodes, like 15, 16 episodes. So the programming in theater, there is a huge scope of changing the programming strategy in the theater also. Why can't a series come to the theater also? The series like Mirzapur or Sacred Game, the whole aesthetics is full cinema. It's like full blown cinema aesthetic actually. So overall is already going on. I am hopeful this strategy should be worked out. How can multiple cinema narrative, whether the short duration or the longer duration or episodic wise, they can be screened at the cinema theater. This will the strategy which I was discussing. How you can sort of strategizing programming content in the cinema. You cannot have the mainstream model of the cinema exhibition now after OTT, like 5 shows in a day in a theater. You have to change somewhere. So these are the major pickup points where cinema and theaters have to sort of think it. Maybe it's shorter films club with a mainstream film. Like there used to be film division film earlier. It used to screen in theaters, which was sort of compulsory move, which is stopped now. And another point like this movie, because movie is a business model basically. They get thousands of films from all across the world. They have to be very, very selective. If they are not selective, they must be having their own process. So the model will not survive actually. But they are also evolving. Before they launched, they were starting sort of pulling films from the different countries and starting putting it into that platform. Now, few more strategies have been added actually. Movie notebook has been added, where you can sort of discuss cinema. You can write on a particular film. If you are watching a film, you can share this film to your friends actually. You can discuss in any core group or a wider sort of audience all across the world. But these things are evolving, which is not there in the Netflix, but it is there in the movie actually. So these platforms are also not foolproof at the moment. They are evolving. And it will take time, maybe another 2-3 years, which are going to be very, very crucial for this industry. So maybe by 23 or 24, we will see a lot of sort of, changes in overall in this industry.
Hello.
Yeah.
In spite of this expansion of cinema exhibition from theaters to OTT and different platforms, the problem and the challenge of the piracy still remains there. And my observation is that there are certain films which are very inaccessible. I mean, very rare films, right from the silent era to the present, are available on the piracy platforms. So how will you will react to that? I mean, what is your opinion about that? So because this is not going to go away, and all the industry, in spite of that, is still surviving and doing their own things. But I know that there is this challenge is affecting this, but it has some benefits also, like uh, very rare films from all over the world are available there. And what is your take on that? Thank you.
Thank you. So this is a very important question actually. Rare films like basically archival film from the silent era, etc. They are available on free platforms, and they have not been kept on the mainstream platforms like Netflix, Amazon, Movie, etc. Uh, as I said, they have a business model in place. They are catering to a particular audience. The moment we started, now the ball is in audience code basically. So now this particular, I don't know if you were sitting right from the beginning. So I was talking about this OTT matrix actually. So there are a lot of metrics which have to be worked out by the OTT platform. So there are more than, I discuss only one matrix. If you click a film, how is it running? Is it stucking in between or buffering continuously? So what is the experience you are providing to the viewers actually? So that's several metrics which are still to be worked out by the OTT platform. So now what they are starting, they have a whole team of, sort of getting data of the audience experience, what actually audience is wanting, the kind of experience they are wanting, kind of content they are looking for, and for how much longer duration, like can you sort of, showcase 3 hours film or maybe shorter film there only, or it has to be a mix of that. So these metrics have to be studied and to be put forward before the particular management. I'm sure this archival cinema and whatever form cinema is available ultimately will find place on the OTT platform as well. I was discussing movie with the gentleman. Movie, if you go to the movie, they may not have that wider range of the archival material. But one day I was looking this Agnivarda retrospective. I'm a huge fan of Agnivarda actually. I personally met her daughter. Daughter was called to IFI Goa for a master class. So I was discussing about her daughter is Rosely Varda. So I was discussing with Rosely, how can I watch Agnivarda film? It's very difficult to see. So she said, I'll provide you the links of their banner is Cine Tamris actually. On the Cine Tamris banner, Agnivarda and her husband made most of the films. Ultimately, those films have, even the shorter films of the Agnivarda, they are available on the movie platform. So slowly, they are realizing the importance of this content also, which is basically a niche content. And the moment is audience start writing about this, content, we want this content, because the moment you click a content on any platform, the message goes to the service provider, this content is being watched, the kind of content you are watching on the platform. The moment the number of audience for that particular kind of content grows, ultimately message will go to them. See, this is a business model. So a business model has to be respected, and an audience has to drive, these content providers. You have to provide this content to the larger audience.
Hi, I'm Narayan.
Yeah, can you please? Yeah, please.
My question is, see, when we pitch for OTT scripts and all, they have they need several kind of a scenes. Matlab, it should be included, something like that. That is one thing. When I make film for theaters, I got censorship, and so when we compare both, in my freedom of expression is limited with filming in theater films. Here in OTT, I restricted by the content providers.
Right.
Equality here, the equality is disturbed.
Yeah.
You understand my question?
Got your point. Yeah. Yeah, very well said. Actually, I missed this point in the OTT content driver. There is no censor pressure as well on the OTT content. Actually, you don't need to go to the censorship process, while putting your content on this OTT platform. Yeah, definitely. But you must have to respect the, law of the country for the theater. Actually, you cannot violate them. So if I am going to a school, then I'm talking to the school children, I have to sort of respect, their emotions. I have to talk in the similar tone. If I'm going to talk, maybe with the college students or the university students, I have to sort of, acquire that particular tone with the college students. So these two are different domain, producing cinema for theater. There are certain laws for that. You have to respect those laws. I respect your view. Your creativity is somehow sort of killed while producing content for the cinema. Even if you make a film for the cinema, ultimately it goes to the censor board, and they watch this film and then cut out certain portion of the scene, which is not good for a filmmaker. But ultimately, law has to be respected, actually.
Other question is, some particular scenes has to be added. The OTT people are same like bold scenes and all. What do you think about?
Yeah.
The now they're giving the different description for female.
Yeah. I understand. Ultimately, actually, this won't pay off. This is not a longer duration strategy. This cannot be a strategy sort of to promote the content. It may survive for a maybe shorter duration, but this is not a good strategy to sort of produce content, actually. So this is not going to work out, actually. This may survive. This may survive for some time, but ultimately, this is not a long-term strategy for any platform. Ultimately, content speak. One scene or two scene. Those won't work out.
Hello.
But yeah, that's a sad truth. You have to work out if you are going for a particular platform. You have to sort of work in their business model. Maybe they have worked out this business model. They understand business in that particular way. Unfortunately.
हेलो हाय सर थैंक
Yeah.
यू फॉर दिस वंडरफुल सेशन सर मेरा सवाल थोड़ा सा अलग है
जी.
माय क्वेश्चन इज रिलेटेड टू द बडिंग फिल्म मेकर्स
Right.
जैसे बचपन में हमें कहा जाता था कि जैसे क्रिकेट है सर क्रिकेट रईसों का गेम है जब इंग्लिश लोग खेलते थे लेकिन हमने उसे गली क्रिकेट बना दिया हमारे साधनों के हिसाब से ऐसे ही सर फिल्मों के लिए कहा जाता है ये रईसों का शौक है लेकिन हमने फिर जब से OTT आया है तो 100 करोड़ की फिल्म सब कब 1 करोड़ में बन जाती हैं या 50 लाख में बन जाती हैं 10 लाख पे भी बन जाती हैं सर मेरा सवाल इससे भी छोटे लोगों के लिए है जो स्टूडेंट फिल्म मेकर्स हैं या मेरे जैसे फिल्म मेकर्स हैं जो शायद 10 लाख भी अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते हमारे पास साधन ये है कि सर या तो हम हमारे मोबाइल से फिल्म बना देते हैं या हम DSLR से फिल्म बना देते हैं लेकिन हम पिच कहाँ करें नेटफ्लिक्स के पास जाते हैं तो दे हैव सम नेटफ्लिक्स अप्रूव्ड कैमरास जो कि शायद 10 लाख 12 लाख रुपए के आते हैं पर डे उनका रेंट 10,000 पड़ता है हम लोग शायद 5,000 6,000 में भी फिल्म बना देते हैं लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हम फिल्म मेकर्स नहीं हैं ऐसी बहुत शॉर्ट फिल्म्स है बहुत मोबाइल फिल्म्स है जिनके पास सच में एक बहुत ग्रेट आइडियाज़ हैं तो सर उसके क्या प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं मैं क्यों नहीं चाहूँ कि मेरी जो 5,000 में बनी हुई फिल्म है उसे अनुराग कश्यप जी देखें या श्याम बेनेगल सर देखें या कोई देखें तो उसके लिए आप क्या सोच रखते हैं और आपके पास या आने वाले समय में ऐसी क्या चीज़ें होंगी जो ऐसे बडिंग फिल्म मेकर्स को भी आगे अपनी फिल्म पहुंचाने का कोई रास्ता या साधन मिले सर
True. I respect your views. I do sort of endorse your views, whatever you said now. But एक issue इसमें छोटा सा ये है कि you are looking for final destination very quickly. Actually, जो मुझे sense हो रहा है कि आप डायरेक्टली नेटफ्लिक्स को इसी स्टेज पे पहुंचना चाहते हो नेटफ्लिक्स और ये सारे OTT दीज आर वेरी कॉम्पिटिटिव प्लेटफॉर्म्स बताते हैं कि कई सौ फिल्में लगातार उनके पास आती हैं पूरी टीम कंटेंट देखने के लिए रोज़ाना बैठी रहती है और वो तकरीबन 7-8 घंटे का कंटेंट रोज़ाना देखते हैं और उनको दे फिल्टर किसको रखना है किसको नहीं रखना है इट्स वेरी कॉम्पिटिटिव वर्ल्ड एक्चुअली तो फिल्म मेकिंग अब वो जो हुआ करता था कि वो अमीरों का शौक है या अमीर बना सकते हैं वो तो दुनिया नहीं रही अब मैं बड़ी कॉन्फिडेंटली इसको बोल सकता हूँ बिकॉज यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड ऑफ दिस अमेजिंग फिल्म मेकर फ्रॉम हॉलीवुड स्टीवन सोडनबर्ग he produced a full-fledged film on iPhone. बर्लिन फिल्म फेस्टिवल में 4-5 साल पहले दिखाई गई थी स्टैंडिंग ओवेशन द फिल्म गॉड द वे द फिल्म वाज शॉट एक्चुअली टोटल फिल्म ऑन iPhone. Another filmmaker from Korea, Park Chan-wook. If these guys, they can shoot on, iPhone, full-length feature film actually. So why can't the people like you? You have fire and belly actually. So immediately आप Netflix या Amazon Prime इनको target मत कीजिए. Just make your own, develop your own platform. YouTube आपके पास में है. But the quality of the content has to be such. अब अनुराग कश्यप का आपने नाम लिया कि you should be, confident enough to showcase your talent कि नहीं ये मैंने जो कंटेंट बनाया है वाकई अनुराग कश्यप को मैं भेजूंगा तो ये देखेगा और ये पसंद आएगा यहाँ पे you know the kind of cinema he produces. So if you're confident, first develop your own platform, put your content on this platform, not only one, start putting your content, you know, jitna bana sakte ho aap yahan pe. Then show your portfolio, the range of, you know, cinema you have created on your own. Then go to this platform. एक movie लेके जाओगे वहाँ पे platform पे, it's very difficult actually. So first, you know, have your own strategy first, and then reach out to this platform. कितनी सारी स्टोरी हैं ऐसे कि जो कहीं गुमनामी में लोग जी रहे थे और कहाँ से कहाँ वो लोग हैं फिल्म मेकिंग के फील्ड में. सो डोंट मायूस होने की बिल्कुल भी ज़रूरत नहीं है. आई नाउ ना मैंने ना इट्स हाईली डेमोक्रेटाइज मीडियम नाउ. एक मोबाइल फ़ोन पे क्या क्या कर सकते हो, यूट्यूब आपके पास में है ना.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, please.
So it's about the bold scenes he mentioned,
Right. Right.
So there are some certain things like we can't show in films, but we have the pleasure to show the content in OTT.
All right.
But my question is sometimes if that thing happens, if they take it as a granted and misusing it too much, so is there any regulations from the OTT side, as there is no censor involved here?
Right.
So is there any regulations here inside the platforms, like they do have anything to avoid this too much of
True.
erotic sequences or anything,
Right.
or they really expect too much of sequences to pull the audience in?
So unfortunately, there is no regulation as such as on date today. So that's what I was discussing. You know, there have to be policy for the OTT platform also. But another side of the story is this. You know, once these regulations are in place, so that might disturb a lot of filmmakers and the OTT providers as well, actually. So as on today, it's going on like, you know, full blown, whatever you want to do, just do it, actually. But yeah, that's a sad part of the story. The filmmakers are being forced to sort of put the, you know, unnecessary scenes into a film which are not required, basically. That's not the part of the storyline. But if you are working for someone, you know, and they are sort of, you know, if you do this, then only we will sort of provide this particular chunk to you. So maybe after one or two films, maybe you will be in position to sort of bargain with these guys, you know, no, I cannot do this sort of thing. But you have to prove yourself then. And nobody can sort of force this maybe now Anurag Kashyap, okay, you do this thing. If you want to do it, he will do it. Otherwise, he will not do it.
Of course, but he didn't over misused it. Whenever he wants, he just used it, but he's not over misused it.
I'm sure after a period of time, you will be able to convince, you know, this marketing team of the OTT platform, you know, this is not going to work out. Let us not do it unnecessarily. Those are not required things, you know, which need to be put unnecessarily into the content. So this will settle sometime. But yeah, this is a trend happening in most of the OTT platform, unfortunately. But yeah, this will come down sometime, you know. There have been bigger releases, you know, which don't have this sort of content. Still, you know, they find their audience quite well.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
Is fine?
Yes.
My second.
Yeah.
Ajay, I just want to know, as a filmmaker, I'm sure you might be in some jury also during your As a jury, I just wonder what exactly jury sees in the independent filmmaking. Because is it a production? Because as an independent filmmaker, it has to be very, you know, limited. We don't have such kind of budgets. Is it a quality? Is it a storyline? Is it the flow of the film, or is the star cast? What exactly jury sees?
Yeah.
Right, on the national level, on the Oscar level, for the independent filmmaker. Maybe this will help us to make our film in such a way.
True.
Can you please
Got your
just
point.
please?
Yeah, very, I think, interesting question. A lot of, you know, young students and, you know, filmmakers, they do ask this question regularly. What actually, this is basically, you know, how your film can make it to, you know, different film festival, basically. So, you know, from a jury point of view, I'm basically a cinema student. So my, you know, single point criteria while being in a jury is to, you know, to watch a film. Number one, have I seen this sort of content earlier? So it won't interest me, actually. So when a filmmaker pushes, you know, this aesthetic limits, this is, you know, technology and the narration to a certain limit, actually, that interests the jury, basically. If you are sort of producing the mundane stuff, you know, which has been seen so many times, the stories which have been seen so many times, the narrative which have been already there in the public domain. So what is so special for the jury to watch in that particular film? So those limits, the creative limits have to be pushed by a filmmaker. How those creative limits can be pushed? Those limits can only be pushed, when you watch a lot of cinema from all across globe. Then you sort of develop your understanding of different milieu actually. Maybe you approach, till date you are approaching a particular subject, from a particular point of view. But the moment you start exploring, cinema from different point of view, for example, we see larger than life cinema of Raja Moli. Then there is Zhang Yimou in China. Look at this larger than life cinema of Zhang Yimou. The moment you start watching Zhang Yimou, you'll forget rest of the larger than life cinema, The kind of wonder he does in a frame, in a shot. Look at his film Hero. House of Flying Daggers, how he's pushing, different limits of the mise-en-scène. So you have to watch lot of content. Being a filmmaker, it's your duty to watch lot of content from different part of the world. In a particular genre, you might be interested. So that particular genre of different filmmaker must be seen by you. Then only you can sort of redefine your creativity. So if I'm in a jury, sort of, that is the focal point of my, of judging a particular film, is this filmmaker really, sort of pushing his creative limits, If a content is already seen by me somewhere else, that won't interest actually. Within 5 minutes, jury starts sort of, let us watch another film. So it goes into different direction. How do you engage with your story, with your aesthetics, with your narrative to the jury member? That is a task. I'm sure there is time, so we can take maybe 1 or 2 more questions, if, or maybe we can wind up. I'd be happy to take 2 more questions. Yeah, please.
Hello. Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Actually, sometimes I put it to myself. Sir, now there are two kinds of cinema, I believe. One is YouTube cinema. YouTube cinema, I can say digital. Digital, and one is theater. I believe both audience are different. क्योंकि सर जब हम डिजिटल में जाते हैं, even me as an audience, remote is with me and I have जो भी मुझे पसंद नहीं आया, like फिल्म अगर जैसे स्टार्ट होती है, मुझे लगता है पहले 1 minute or 50 seconds or 1.5 minutes is so important. मैंने ऑस्कर विनिंग फिल्म्स देखी हैं यूट्यूब पे, दे आर लाइंग अराउंड 25,000 व्यूज, 40,000, और ऐसे वीडियोस देखे हैं जिनका स्टार्ट इन्होंने ऐसा किया है एंड द फिल्म इज़ वेरी बैड बट दे आर इन मिलियंस. द रीज़न इज़ जो उसका जो फर्स्ट मिनट है उन्होंने ऐसे डिज़ाइन किया. तो सर मुझे ऐसा लगता है शायद जब भी हमें अगर फिल्म OTT के लिए या YouTube के लिए, YouTube is a big distributor I believe for the short films. I personally believe I have films on YouTube, I'm getting revenue. Right. I had film on Hotstar, I'm not getting revenue. और वही फिल्म YouTube पे I'm getting revenue. I'm just asking, telling. तो सर मुझे लगता है आपको ऐसा लगता है कि 2 टाइप की फिल्म अगर हम पहले हमें डिसाइड करना चाहिए किसके लिए, अगर सिनेमा के लिए कर रहे हैं कि सिनेमा में हम आए हैं तो विल सी द आर्ट फर्स्ट एंड फाइनली द ग्रेंजर विल गो एंड वो सब आएगा तो वी हैव टू सिट देयर. लेकिन वही फिल्म जो आस्ते आस्ते पिक कर रही है, वही फिल्म अगर यूट्यूब पे हम दें, मुझे लगता है द ऑडियंस विल लीव मच बिफोर द गुड पार्ट ऑफ द फिल्म विल कम. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगर हम दोनों मीडियम्स के लिए अगर डायरेक्ट कर रहे हैं तो मुझे लगता है वी हैव टू थिंक सेपरेटली. सर आप क्या बोलेंगे इसके बारे में?
My take is bit different on this. Actually, for me, cinema is just cinema. Actually, for whichever platform you are producing or making a film, there has to be a certain, aesthetics and narrative level in the cinema. See, if you look at movie का मैं example पर दोबारा दूंगा. If you look at the, movie platform, so उधर YouTube type का भी content मिलता है. वहाँ पे there are movies of 3 hours length. Loud Eyes का भी फिल्म है जो 5-6 घंटे का फिल्म बनाते हैं. वो भी ऑडियंस है एक्चुअली वहाँ पे. वो क्लिक उतना नहीं है but it is still there actually. So how did it find a place on the movie, which is highly commercial? It's very difficult to watch, 6-hour length film in one go. Very difficult. Big screen Loud Eyes films in if Goa. We knew that there won't be audience. There were 2-3 people sitting at the end of the film. 500-400 के theater में, capacity के theater में. But still we screen. So cinema, let us just approach cinema from the cinema point of view. Let us not sort of, segregate, this is for the YouTube and this is for the OTT platform, this is for the theater. I think we should not keep all these in our mind while we are sort of attempting any subject actually. The main thing is, for any cinema, good cinema, the limits have to be pushed. Aesthetical, technical, and the narrative limits have to be pushed actually. So till when you push those limits, then the new filmmakers are born, like the filmmaker like Kim Kyu-duk, Why Khan is so popular actually? Khan is popular because it is giving you the alternate content which is not easily available, which is not easily seen in the rest of the film festival in the rest of the world. They are pushing all limits of the art actually. So being a filmmaker, you should just have in your mind, first your study of the cinema aesthetics, it has to be good, Whether you do it that by studying in a film school or train yourself, by watching a lot of film stuff, it depends on you. But a filmmaker, they should regularly sort of, push their limits. Let's forget all these platforms, OTT, YouTube, cinema. Ultimately, this will come out well. You put it on any platform, you will find an audience actually. You will find appreciation.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe one last
I
question.
I'm requesting now, since you said you pushed the limits, I had pushed limits. My film is screening on Audi 2. It's a 10 minutes film and there is no dialogue in the film. Please, if you guys have time, at 2:30, Audi 2. So it's a without dialogue film. Name Inam is about the stone pelters of Kashmir, and the colonel of the army. He's teaching them a different level of how he learned them to teach them to handle it in a different way and without dialogue. There are 15 characters in the film. There is no dialogue. It's a 10 minutes film. I'm sure you have 10 minutes. Audi 2, please. Thank you, sir. So you're also invited.
So shall we wind up now? Thank you so much. It's such an honor being part of this festival. Once again, I thank you, all of you, sparing your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. It was very insightful. There is an announcement for everybody. Open forum is going on right now outside JB Hall, so I hope to see you all there. Also, MIFF Hub is at 3 p.m. and the speakers will be Vijay Pandey and Kamlesh Risi. So it will be really great to see you all there. Thank you so much.